Hello, everybody. Good evening. It is a true pleasure to welcome you all the voice tech enthusiasts to Alexa Community India. We truly appreciate your dedication, your time, and your efforts to be a part of this event amidst the pandemic, and we hope everybody's safe and with your family during this time. Without much ado, I'd like to invite Karthik Raghupati, Solutions Architect, Amazon, to launch this event and brief us about Alexa communities in India. Over to you, Karthik.
Thanks, Divyashree. Hey, everyone. Hello and good evening for anyone joining us from maybe from outside of India. Good morning. But yes, thank you so much. And I'll just check, am I audible properly before I just start talking about it? I hope I'm audible. Let me just check. Just let us know in the chat if you are able to hear me, and maybe I'll just. Yes, thanks, Azmat, for confirming that. Okay, so, all right. So I'm super excited today to talk about the launch of Alexa Community in India. And I really want to talk a bit about today when the entire Alexa communities that banded together, and they told us that we are planning to do an event like this. Can you help us with that? And we really thought it was a great idea. And I was wondering about what I can speak today, and I thought maybe instead of doing something technical, let me talk a bit about community, right? And what a community means. When I started developing for Alexa, this was somewhere in 2016 and 2017, early 2017. There were like just a handful of developers. And back then, I was not even working for Amazon. I was working as a freelancer, as a consultant. And back then, there was not much of a community per se, right? And back then I used to interact with I used to build on stuff, and I would look for documentation or ideas, or wanted always used to have these issues when I was coding. And sometimes I would want to ask a friend for help, and back then I did not get that many resources, but slowly, and this was back in 2017, right? India did not even have Alexa back then, right? Alexa launched somewhere in 2018 for India. We just had a handful of developers, not a lot of skills, right? And if you fast forward to now, which is like 2020, we are in 2020, we have hundreds and thousands of developers who have created like 100,000 plus skills, right? Which I believe is a testament, uh, is a is proves the fact that this is a really good platform to be on, and is also the proof that we just keep talking to a lot of people, telling them that, hey, voice is the future, voice is the future. But it always feels good when communities go ahead, and communities invest their time and energy and their resources with us, right? So this 100,000 plus skills is a testament to the fact that communities are involving with us, developers are interested in this platform, and are working hard to build new experiences on top of Alexa. uh, I wanted to talk a bit about my personal experience today. Before I joined Amazon, uh, like I said, I was working as a consultant, and I used to do a lot of Alexa stuff. And I used to have these queries every now and then about how to do stuff, and ask people if this is the right way to do things. And I would get stuck somewhere, and I would say that, hey, how do I get this done? And that's when my previous colleague Sohan, some of you might know Sohan. Sohan had created this Alexa community, and you can look at the Slack link here, which is alexa.design/India Slack invite. If you are not part of the community, do come and join that community. But yes, he started this community, I think, somewhere in 2018, and that was like a good way for me to connect with a lot of folks here, right? I From the chat itself, I see a lot of people like Divyansh, Akanksha, Ashish. A lot of these people were part of the community, and I could finally get a place where I could come and talk about my ideas, right? And I remember when I came to Bangalore for the first time, it was in the Bangalore community. So the Alexa community in Bangalore, where I got to speak about building engaging Alexa skills, right? So that was like my first talk ever, and the subsequent events kicked in, and today I get to work for Amazon. So that's one of the cool things I believe we have gotten as part of this community, right? We've gotten this entire really great platform where we can come and we can share our ideas, we can talk about new concepts, and we can talk about the feature requests that we want in Alexa Skills Kit. We keep hearing that from developers a lot. All of this is a good way for us to listen to the community and take those features back and tell our teams that, hey, our community is super interested in this. Is there something that we can do? So that's a good way for us, personally me, to listen to the customer voice as well. But at the same time, it's a great forum for all of us to be like, part of a community where we can share ideas, learn new concepts. I also have some great memories of speaking at different places, like one of the communities in Delhi, right, run by Ashish, Rahul, and a lot of other folks. Um, we did a few workshops, we did a few events, where I think the name was someone called, I'm not sure if Arpit is joining this stream, but there was this person called as Arpit who traveled around 300 plus kilometers just to attend a half day Alexa workshop, right? So it's the amount. I have always been blown away by the amount of interest that developers choose to put in this platform and the amount of efforts that they choose to put in this platform. Always blows me up, right? Um, and none of this would have been possible without our community leads, right? This is not something that we do. This is not something that we run. To be very honest, this is something that the community leads who really have a passion for voice user interfaces and are interested in exploring avenues where they can learn some new stuff. They have a passion for learning new stuff, and wanted to build a community around it, wanted to build a local community around it, right? So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes here and introduce you to these folks. Ankit, may I have all the moderators and the leads on the uh, screen itself? There we go. I think we are having a lot of people in there. That's really great. Yes, so there's Rahul and Ashish and Divyansh. Rahul, yeah, Ashish and Divyansh run the Delhi NCR meetup group in Alexa, right? And I've just super fond memories speaking to them, and the kind of workshops that they have done. These are the workshops that they have done on their own. It's not something that we had to ever push for. This is something that they always try to do on their own. How are you, Ashish? How are you, Rahul? Been a while since we met.
I'm good, Karthik.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
God. Yeah, we do miss the in-person workshops, but we are very grateful that we all could come together as a community online and share with the whole India community of Alexa devs.
exactly, and that's what really I love about this community is that even though in the current situation today we are not able to speak about meet personally, uh, we are finding ways to still be connected. And Akhilesh here is from the Mumbai community. Akhilesh has been single-handedly, along with his employer Agraya, has been running the Mumbai community for quite a while now. Of course, we have Ilan and Suneet. Ilan is an Alexa champion, and Suneet is the brains behind the Alexa Bangalore group as well, along with Ilan. They have done a lot of events. I remember they invited me to their first event, like I was talking about, right, where I got an idea to talk about some different stuff, and they have been super uh, excited about running a Alexa community specifically for Bangalore. I still remember, I'm not sure if Sunit and Ilan, you remember, but when we spoke at the Bangalore community, we had like these small kids who were like 12 years or 13 years old. And they would come and they would speak about, Alexa stuff in general. And they had built a skill actually, and some not a like a simple fact skill or something, but something which is really complex, right? Which and I was looking at those kids and thinking, but hey, like, when I was 13, I was never building an Alexa skill for sure, right? But this is the power of community, right? What you have created as a community uh, helps us do these kind of things. We've got Ankit and Harsh here, and Nilesh is also in here. Nilesh Vagela, who's also been very instrumental to doing workshops. I remember I Nilesh, Ankit, and Harsh, and I think I'm not entirely sure who that person from Surat is. What's his name? Dhruv? I'm not sure.
Nikhil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nikhil, sorry.
Nikhil, also an ASI, and they were really adamant that I should come to some place like Ahmedabad, Surat. And I remember I did like Surat plus Ahmedabad in just a couple of days. Surat, I finished the talk, and then you were very kind enough to set up a cab for me. And that is what I love about this community, right? There is this interpersonal relationships that I'm forming, and that all of us are forming with each other, and we are being really helpful, and just helping each other with a lot of things, right? Whatever it comes to like Alexa development. And these are not the only folks that you see. The folks that you see on the screen are not the only people, right? There are lots of people behind the screen. But yes, these are some of them who really run this community. And I really wanted to take a minute and thank you all for all the efforts that you all do, and for today's event as well. So thank you, everyone. And let me just talk a bit more about the communities that we have today. We have roughly today around 13 plus communities. We have communities in Bangalore, Ahmedabad, NCR, the capital, uh, Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Jaipur, Coimbatore, Kochi, and I think maybe in Surat. And we also started one in Nashik, and also one in West Bengal that was just recently started. I know it's a very difficult time to be in. We cannot meet physically, but if you are someone who is into building Alexa skills and want to interact with this community, and have some queries or have some ideas on how certain things should be done, the Slack group that we have, which is alexa.design/India Slack invite, that is the place where you can come and join and talk to all of these folks. The other thing, that when someone talks about communities, um, communities are not only for professionals, right? That's not at all the case. We have a very diverse community, and we actually encourage people from all life, all walks of life to come and join us. We have, for example, the student influencer program, which is the Alexa student influencer program. And we've got some 30 plus campuses all around India, which has student communities. So if you are a student and you are in building an Alexa skill, the Alexa student influencer program is something that you should definitely attend. That's like a nice way for you to get connected to Amazon, but at the same time be invested in building an Alexa skill and learn more about this futuristic tech that we are all working with. We have some colleges like LPU, Chandigarh University, which have their own communities. And if you are interested in starting a community of your own, do come and join those communities, and the links will be shared with you in the chat. And yes, that's pretty much about the community. We have roughly around 13,000 plus communities, 13,000 plus members with all these 13 communities, and this number is only increasing day by day. So we are super stoked, and we hope you join us in this community, and we can share. Looking forward to talk to you about your ideas, your idea of what can be built using Alexa. Having said that, moving on from communities, we recently did a huge event called as Alexa Live. I'm not sure how many of you were able to attend it, but we did this event called as Alexa Live. And one of the things that we noticed with Alexa Live was a huge number of developer participation was from India. So really thankful for all of you for staying up late that night and attending the event, but at the same time voicing your opinions on those features. And for example, one of the things that we heard from developers was there was a hackathon that we launched during the event, which is called as the Alexa Conversations Hackathon, which has around $100,000 in prizes. And due to certain reasons, the event was not open to Indian developers, and a lot of developers reached out to us. And like I said, at Amazon, we speak from customer backwards, right? We have a high level of customer obsession. When we got to hear from you all that this was an event that you really wanted to participate in, we took that feedback back to the team, and we were able to unlock that for the developers. And as a result, today we have a huge number of developers participating in the Alexa Conversations Hackathon. And we really look forward to you participating in the hackathon and winning some prizes, and having some Indian representation in the hackathon. So speaking of Alexa Live, there were a lot of features, and I'm sure many of us did not have the time and energy to just go through all of those features. That's why we thought that for the Alexa community launch, it would be a great idea to kind of do a recap at what was launched in Alexa Live. So today we have with us, and that's what going to be the next talk. And Divishri will intro the speaker, but we have Harman, and we'll be speaking a bit about Alexa Live and all the features and what is possible today. So during the entire stream, there's a competition running. So do participate in it. Tweet to us in the Slack, in the Twitter channels. Use the hashtag AlexaCMIndia, and you get a chance to win some credits. But yes, apart from that, that's all from me now. We have Harman coming up next, who will talk about Alexa Live, and he'll take it from there. Thank you, everyone, and look forward to meeting you all in person one day.
Thank you, Karthik. Karthik did mention about the context. So tell us about your most exciting feature launched in Alexa Live and how you will use it in your skills by tweeting us at AlexaCMIndia and win AWS credits. Good luck, guys. Now we shall set ourselves for the main segment of the event. We have with us Alexa Evangelist German Viscuso to talk about lots of exciting features released at Alexa Live 2020. Over to you, Arman.
Okay, hello India. I'm super happy to be here. This is a very special day for me because this is my first talk that I dedicate to the Indian community, and it's amazing. Not only because you're launching, you're formalizing this concept of the Indian community. India for Alexa is super important. As Karthi already mentioned, we have tons of different communities distributed across the country. So we really think it's very important, and especially for me to be here today. I'm not saying this only because it's Sanit's birthday. I wanted to mention that so you can say hi to Sanit. But I feel a little bit like the clown in the birthday cake that is going to jump and talk about Alexa Live right now. So my objective today is I have to cover a lot of ground. I have to cover a lot of topics. So you will hear me like speaking rather quickly. Okay, that's not how I talk, but it's basically because we have to cover a lot of things. Okay, and so we'll have a quick pace, but hopefully by the end of the presentation you will have, like a summary of at least the most important things that we launched during Alexa Live. Some of them will be dropped, but I hope that the most important will be covered. Okay, so let me go straight into Alexa Conversations. I personally consider Alexa Conversations the let's say, the way of building skills of the future that you can have and try out today. Okay. Unfortunately, this is US only for now, but I'm sure we will keep expanding the availability. But this is something that you can try right now if you're building a US skill, for example, and have a feeling of what the future looks like when it comes to Alexa skill building. So what is it exactly? Alexa Conversations. It's a new machine-based learning approach that developers can use to build more natural experiences. Let me just go a little bit deeper. The Alexa Conversation session on Alexa Live was the most popular session. We had more than 2,000 people joining and very, very excited about checking conversations. So let me start with what a linear multi-turn interaction looks like with Alexa. It's very simple. You ask something, Alexa responds, maybe with a question, then you ask something, you get a response, etc. You can consider this a linear, interaction. That's very simple when the user basically follows the path that you expect, or you can call it like the happy path. But that's not usually how things happen. The real deal looks more like this, right? The user can correct themselves. They can basically say something different. They can take you out of context. It's very natural for conversations to deviate from a predetermined script. So you need to do a lot of work to actually support these deviations. You need a lot of work on the front end because you need a robust set of utterances that can capture different things and different things that might be out of context. But you also need a lot of work in the back end to actually handle context, because when the user says something different, you might lose all of the context if you're not doing a clever work in the back end. Okay, so that's the problem that we've been trying to solve with Alexa Conversations. And so the idea is for it to be more natural, more human-like conversations. And have that. The main building block that we are using for this machine learning, because if there's machine learning involved, we need to train something, right? So we are using dialogues as training material for Alexa Conversations. Okay, we're using these dialogues. Maybe you can create the happy path of a dialogue, and we are training this awesome engine with these dialogues so we can exploit all the different possibilities of these dialogues, the different dialogue automatically for you. That means that you don't have to cover every single deviation of the conversation. You can work with this core. We exploit them using machine learning, and then the conversation becomes more natural because the user feels that it's supported for them to say something different, so to go out of context, etc. Then this provides, since we're handling a lot of things for you automatically, this makes the coding you need to code less, basically, to put it some way, right? Because you don't have to do state management yourself. A lot of the state management is done by the Alexa Conversation engine. And since you're providing dialogues and you have to provide utterances, very long utterances, defining the intents, etc., maybe you can start a simple dialogue and you can get something up and running quickly. Right? There's always ways to refine that, okay, and you can add more into it, obviously, but there's a very, very easy path for that. So you can try it in that link that I'm showing below, and let me just show you a little bit of what the components looks like. Let me just exploit this whole slide here, okay? And as you can see, you have dialogues that I told you, those are the training materials, okay? Then you also have API definitions. And one of the differences that I want to mention around APIs is that you're usually, when you work with the traditional way of building skills, you're providing one API endpoint, which is maybe your Lambda, right? And that API endpoint has to do everything. It has to maybe connect to different APIs, etc. Here, we are supporting multiple API connections, and those are direct API connections. So for example, suppose that you want to tap into the, I don't know, let's say an Uber API or a Spotify API. with Alexa Conversations, you would connect directly to those APIs, right? And you can even connect in one single dialogue interaction, you can connect to multiple APIs. And what API to connect to will be decided by the Alexa Conversations engine, okay? So when you create these dialogues, you basically also define slots and slot types in the dialogues. But you are working with the dialogue, and that feels a lot like working on your happy path and basically tagging, different elements, saying this is a slot, this is a slot type, etc. So when you are done, you have covered a lot of the ground that you need to basically create an Alexa conversations-based skill. The final thing that we have there in the equation is response templates. And the response templates are predefined ways in which the Alexa Conversations can answer for and give you specific information that are basically filled in with variables, to give the proper response. So once you have your templates, you have Alexa Conversation talking back to you. Okay. I'm very excited, also very excited about Alexa Conversations. I really think that this is taking Alexa skill building to the next level. Okay, so let me move. So to give you like a summary of Alexa Conversations, this is what Alexa Conversations is rather doing automatically for you. A lot of state management, Alexa Conversations have most of the state management for you. Developers are expected to provide maybe the happy path, as I mentioned before, and then Alexa Conversations will add different dialogue flows for you that will be exploited and supported, okay? Then we have dialogue variations, which is the user can ask for follow-up questions. For example, the user might not tell us about a specific bit of information. I will immediately follow up. Alexa Conversations will follow up to basically gather the right information. This is very similar to what we do with dialogue management right now, but even in a more automated way, gathering the missing pieces of information. Then we have confirmations. So Alexa Conversations allows us to confirm an API and its arguments before calling the API. So you can think of Alexa Conversations as a system that is collecting API parameters, so the API can actually be called, right? Behind the curtains. Obviously, this looks like a real conversation, but behind the curtains, we're trying to fill in all the parameters to call a specific API. Suppose that's the Spotify API, right? So that's awesome because Alexa Conversations will give us a conversation to fill in that information and call the right API or the right APIs. It can be more than one, okay? The user can provide corrections. The users correct themselves all the time. They say, okay, I want large. No, wait a minute, I want small, right? Those kinds of interactions are handled automatically for you. If you build skills before, you know that that's a lot of work that you have to do behind the curtains when you're using traditional skill development. Okay, so this is awesome. And also a lot of context carryover. When the user takes you out of context, doing a correction or asking you a different question, all the information that you collected is not lost. Okay, so there's context carryover. So let me see what else. Let's skip for now proactive offers. Interoperability. This is a very important point. Interoperability, because Alexa Conversations can be used together with our standard dialogue management. You can have a skill that is hybrid, that is using standard dialogue management, and for some dialogue, some situations, is using Alexa Conversations. You can obviously do one that is using 100% Alexa Conversations. You can also do that, but you can also have hybrid skills, okay, using both. So you can consider Alexa Conversations as like a special dialogue management engine, okay? So let me see if I have one more here. And before moving, let me move to the Alexa price. The hackathon. We have a hackathon. Karthik already mentioned this. There's 100K in prizes, and the grand prize is 20K. But before focusing on the hackathon, and you can go there, alexaconversations.devpost.com, to sign up. It would be awesome to have a lot of people from India signing up there. Let me just tell you, when is Alexa Conversations useful? Why would I switch to Alexa Conversations? Why would I use it? It's basically a really good system when you have dialogues that can go in multiple directions, right? But your skill is goal-oriented. You want to achieve one thing, but the dialogue is complex enough that can go to multiple directions. Suppose that you need to order a pizza and you want to put a lot of toppings on the pizza. Maybe the user asks for one topping, maybe they ask for 3 toppings, but say that this other topping they don't want. Maybe they ask for the size of the pizza. Imagine those situations. You basically want a pizza built but the conversation can go, in multiple directions. So those are very good use cases for Alexa conversations, okay? Where there's a lot of complexity that you will struggle handling in terms of the dialogue, but you have a very clear goal, okay? So let me move forward and let's switch to multimodal. Multimodal announcements. We did a couple of announcements that are particularly interesting, but the first thing that I wanted to show you is that we show during Alexa Live how we've been evolving APL. APL, the Alexa presentation language, you probably heard about it, is heavily used on devices that have screens, right? We call them multimodal devices. And we've been evolving it since our launch in October 2018. We started with version 1.0, then we transitioned into APL 1.1, where we added animation, support for animations. A lot of people started playing with that, which was really awesome to see. Then we announced version 1.2, where we supported the new Echo Show 5, for example, shadows, cursor handlers, also supported for keyboards in APL 1.2, if in case you plug a keyboard to a specific device. And one of very recent was APL 1.3, where we highlighted the loading of dynamic data. One of the pain points for developers was that, okay, I need to load information in this list, but I have to have it in the document itself, and I have to fully load it from a source. What if I have like paging and I want to, load information little by little? We added that in APL 1.3 and it's working in a really good way. And then we announced during Alexa Live, we announced APL 1.4. And APL 1.4 introduced a lot of really cool things, like, for example, drag and drop. You can do, like gestures on the screen if the device has a screen, obviously. Grids, text boxes, because you might need to fill in a password or something like that. We are supporting that now. But we have the crown of the jewel for announcement in APL 1.4, which was basically APL for audio. And APL for audio took the stage there and basically took the spotlight, to put it some way, of the APL 1.4 announcements, because this is really awesome. And let me tell you more about it. So APL for audio. APL for audio is we've been hearing feedback from the users, and a lot of the feedback that we have from the user is, okay, I rather need to select music, maybe play some music on my skill, or I rather go with Alexa talking. Why I cannot do both at the same time, right? In order to do that, developers previously had to get the MP3 file of the music they wanted as a background, then record the Alexa voice, mix that together in their own home, studio, whatever, create one MP3, upload that MP3, and then play that MP3 with the mix. And now suppose that suddenly someone says, okay, you need to change that background. It has to be a different music. You have to do the whole process again, right? So the idea here was that you can combine in multiple ways different audio sources. And don't be confused by the fact that this is called APL for audio, because APL for audio, as you can see in item number 1, runs on every device, every Alexa-enabled device. It doesn't have to be a device with a screen. Okay, so you can mix audio and Alexa speech. You can mix multiple audio sources or audio tracks. Suppose I have 3 tracks and Alexa talking, you can do that. It supports higher fidelity files because we used to have lower fidelity. Now we can go higher, so the perceived quality, the audio quality is much better. We support multiple formats, as you can see there, and we support up to 15 files in a single response. Usually, if you played with chaining audio files in an SSML audio output, you will feel the pain. I was limited to 3 or 4, for example, if I remember correctly. Now you can go with up to 15. You don't need to enable the APL interface. You can use this right away, and it's incredibly easy to send to do your first hello world, your first test with APL for audio. So just hit that, go to that URL and give it a shot. Okay, so the other thing that we announced regarding to multimodal was the Alexa Web API for games. This was previously announced, but now it is GA. Okay, and the Alexa Web API for games is a way for you to basically talk to JavaScript, maybe running on an HTML5 page. It can be a page, it can be an independent application. The thing is that we created a JavaScript client-side engine that runs on the JavaScript side and can interoperate and intercommunicate directionally with your Alexa skill. So you would be basically able to control an HTML page. If that page is rendering something, you will be able to communicate with it thanks to this bridge. Okay, so we're putting this out for let's say for games for now. Okay, we are not opening to other use cases, but you have all the information there. You can go and try it out. Okay, there are a lot of details that I cannot cover right now, but this is basically for games that can run on a web page. Suppose that you're already creating a great web game and you want to Alexa enable it. This is your opportunity. Okay, this is a technology that you need to try. Okay, moving on. On the go, we had a couple of announcements on the go. What is on the go? On the go is you can put your Echo Buds and start running. That's an on the go device. You can use your Echo Auto on your car. That's another on the go device. And that opens up a lot of possibilities. And we thought that we needed to provide better support for it. Okay, so we have two technologies related to on the go. And let me just go to skill resumption capabilities. Okay, so skill resumption capabilities, it's basically the ability to put a skill in the background, and this opens up a lot of possibilities, and I'm going to show a couple of examples now. But what's really powerful, just to see the basics of this, is this can be initiated by the customer. I mean, a customer can put a skill to sleep and kind of wake it up, or the skill itself can do that, can go to the background and can wake up when there's a specific event, and obviously with the user permission. Okay, because this requires permissions, just like reminders or timers, etc. Okay, so you can check that URL if you're interested, but let me go into some more specific examples, okay, related to skill resumption. So this is one example. Alexa, get me a ride home. This is basically triggering the UberX app, okay? And we get an answer by the UberX app. And the UberX app knows our address, okay? And it's basically asking for a confirmation. You say yes, and it's basically looking for a driver, right? And take a look at the response. Looking for a driver. I'll let you know when I have a match. That skill is asking to go to background. It goes to background by the skill, okay? The skill itself is asking for that. From now on, the interaction with the user and Alexa can be done normally. And maybe the user asks for the time, for the weather, goes open a different skill, etc. Okay, so skill in the background. 30 seconds later, consider this. The skill wakes up and says, your driver's van will arrive in 7 minutes. Look for a black Toyota Prius with license, blah, blah, blah. So basically the skill is putting itself back into foreground, okay? And it's telling us that there's a driver, okay? So it goes immediately to the background again, requested by the skill in this case, okay? And so suppose we go 5 minutes later and the user says, Alexa, where is my ride? And take a look at that. The skill is going into forward and saying Spain is 1 minute away, okay? So you would notice something very special here. Alexa, where is my ride is not mentioning open the UberX skill, okay? It's using directly, you know, an utterance. So what's happening there? What's happening there is that since we know we have a skill in the background, which is the Uber skill, we are taking that utterance as a top level intent, okay? Top level. So we don't care what skill is being used, but we are checking with the background skill to see if that's an utterance that can be properly routed to that background skill, okay? So it goes immediately to the UberX skill that was in the background, okay? Okay, perfect. So let's move to Alexa for Apps. The second announcement for On The Go was Alexa for Apps. Okay, so this opens up a lot of possibilities. The idea here is to reduce friction, as you can see in the slide, and increase customer satisfaction. We want to get there by allowing customers to start an interaction by voice and then continue in the app. And one of the demos that we show is, for example, the TikTok application, where the users say, okay, ask TikTok to start recording. and the user is holding the phone or putting the phone in a table, and the TikTok app opens up and start recording a TikTok video. Okay, so the user got started by voice and then continues on the phone. For some interactions, makes sense, to go to the phone, but it provides less friction and makes things easier to kickstart it with voice. Okay, so this is an example that I wanted to show you, which is a deep linking with Alexa custom skills. So this is using deep linking into your apps. If you already have deep links in your app, suppose you're an Android developer and you already support deep links, these are all callable using Alexa for apps. Okay, and this is an example where we are trying to open the Yellow Pages skill, and the user is saying, Alexa, ask Yellow Pages to search for Whole Foods, and the Alexa skill says, okay, showing you results for Whole Foods in Yellow Pages, and the app pops up in the phone. So this is a great match also for voice search scenarios. Okay, moving on. Quick links, another technology that gets me very excited. This is US only for now, unfortunately, and it's in beta. But I think that we should start playing with it right now. I'm also in Spain, so I don't have access to it right now, but I've been playing with it, and I think that you should definitely take a look at that, hoping that we expand it later to other locales. So let me tell you a bit more about it. What if your customers could click on an ad, on a link, in a web page, and launch your skill? Wouldn't that be just awesome? It would be like one click, not deployment, but one click, enablement and launching of your skill. So you can do that with quick links, and it's super easy to get started because it's basically one URL pointing to your skill. And what does the experience looks like? Let me see if I have. Okay, I'll get back to that later, but this is basically what the links looks like. So this URL is saying, I want to launch a skill with that skill ID. And you can put this anywhere. You can put it on a web page, you can put it in an ad, you can put it anywhere. What do you get on the other side? I think I don't have a screenshot right now, but what you get is a screen that basically gives you the name and the icon of the skill, and ask you in which device you want to launch it. Because if you are signed in to your Amazon account, it will basically detect which devices you have, and it will tell you want to launch it in the bedroom, Echo Show, or you want to launch it in the kitchen, I don't know, Echo Plus. Okay, so you select one of those, and the skill is launched in that device, just like that. One thing that it's also supported with quick links is the ability to launch tasks. And we recently announced custom task, and custom task is a way. Just give me a sec. I'm going to plug the machine. Just give me 1 sec. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to die. Okay. There you go. And as I was saying, so custom task is a way for you to support a specific tasks within skills. And these are like, let's say, micro functionalities that you can have in your skill with the specific things that you want your skill to do, but maybe not the whole skill, right? And you can point to them. I'm going to release a blog post next week explaining how to create a custom task in your skill, and you can point specifically to this task from quick links. And this is a way in which you can do it. It's the same way that I show you, but instead of saying launch in the end, you're basically saying tasks, you're specifying a specific task, a version, and then you're maybe passing a parameter. So this is for a daily horoscope skill, where I'm saying I want the horoscope for the sign of Virgo. Okay? All right. So let me move to name-free interactions. So we announced the NFI toolkit, and this is important because this is available in US, UK, and India. Okay, so you can try this. There's a developer preview form that you need to go to. You can try this right now because it's also available for India. And let me tell you a bit more about it. Okay, so name-free interaction is a way for you to basically ask for something without saying open this skill, right? Or ask Leo Strip Planner to do blah, blah, blah. That's a way we are providing clever ways for you to not to remember, you don't have to remember, anymore which skill you really need to open. And this is an AI-based toolkit that we created, where we are applying artificial intelligence to determine what is the appropriate skill that we need to open. Okay, so until today you had no way to do that. For example, you had to stick to the predefined launch phrases, but with this technology and the toolkit, you can define up to 5 predefined launch phrases for your skill. So you can tweak a little bit on how people can open your skill. And if you feel that there's something that is more natural, for your users, you can actually put that in. Okay, this obviously works with can fulfill intent request to determine what's the best approach to open the skill, or what the best skill is. Obviously, we have some machine learning in the background that will try to determine what is the appropriate skill to open if there are collisions, because there might be multiple tree planning skills, to give you an idea, right? So we will have to do some, we are doing actually some arbitration there. You can take a closer look at this in that URL below, NFI toolkit. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, and we come to new analytics. So we are providing new analytics. And why are new analytics important? Because since we have the NFI toolkit that I just mentioned, there are potentially new ways in which the user can open skills. So we need to take a look at what's going on, how the user is opening the skill, what are they using? Are they doing name-free invocation, or are they always saying open, that kind of stuff. So we're providing invocation analytics. With invocation analytics, you can know what the users are saying to invoke your skills, and what are the most common invocation channels. This is very important, because you can understand that maybe your users are always opening your skill by not even mentioning the name of the skill and using name-free invocation. So you can start tweaking that and see what you can do about it. Also, part of new analytics is the quality analytics. Okay, and in quality analytics, we want to help you optimize the experience. Okay, and the less friction your skill provides, the more the user will stay engaged and will keep coming back to it and using it, etc. So how do we understand that our skills providing high friction? How can we make sure, what are the tools that we have to go low friction? This is what the quality analytics panel is trying to solve in the developer console. It will tell you how naturally the users are interacting with your skills, and what are the features that are providing those functions. There are several metrics that I won't go over right now, part of the quality analytics, but basically all of them will help you reduce friction of your skill. Okay, and finally, the third part of the new analytics announcements is customer behavior analytics. This is unfortunately US only for now, but this is really interesting for you to understand what the user is doing with your skill. For example, how they are finishing the skill. Maybe they are super mad about something and they are just terminating your skill in the middle of it, and you know exactly what's going on. You can also take a look at unhandled requests, for example, to see what's happening with the things that the user are asking for that you are not really covering. On when you have a barge in, which is when the user basically interrupts and basically starts talking to Alexa before Alexa even finished, doing a sentence or anything like that. You can also take a look at that in this analytics dashboard. So I'm really hoping that this will be available later to the rest of the locals. So at this point, I'm going to do just a very short pause, and I'm going to give an opportunity for a couple of questions. If there are a couple of questions that Karthik wants to send my way, please, Karthik.
Sure, Harman. So initially, when the talk started, there were not many questions. So it looks like you did a great job of explaining the features. But yes, there's one question from Pratik who asks, so with Alexa for apps, does that mean they can integrate voice in any app that they are building, like in any mobile app that they can be building that?
Yeah, this is a very good question. We are not with Alexa Mobile for Apps. We are not talking about putting a voice engine in the app. Okay, we're not talking about that. That's not Alexa for Apps. Alexa for Apps is basically an ability for you to open a custom skill. So basically, when the user speaks, we'll be interacting with a custom skill, a typical skill, but that skill can point using a URL to a deep link in your app. Okay? So that's basically the mechanics. The user opens a skill and say, ask TikTok to start recording. When they say ask
Right.
TikTok, they are not talking to the app. They are
Right.
talking to the TikTok skill. And the TikTok skill will send a deep link request via URL to the TikTok app so this starts recording. I hope
So
that
your
answers the question.
yeah, so your app needs a skill as well, complement skill to be
Exactly. It's mandatory because it's the entry point for that sort of
exactly.
interaction.
There was just one more question, but I think this is something we can take up, which is name-free
Mhm.
invocation now available for India as well? Uh,
Yes.
yeah, so yes, that is available for India, but it's on a beta request feature right now. So I think it's only for US, India, and UK, but you have to apply for preview if I'm not wrong on that one.
Yeah, there's a form that I have the URL for the form. If you don't have it, I can paste it later in the chat. But basically, you
Yeah,
have to apply, and if you get accepted, you can start trying it.
exactly. And just one last questions,
Mhm.
but Balaji asked if Alexa India developers are only paid for high engaging skills in Alexa India Skill Store. Why is this specifically restricted for India? So let me just answer that, Herman, and then we can
Mhm.
proceed.
Sure.
But Balaji, this is not a program that is restricted specifically for India. We do have something called as Alexa Developer Rewards, which is available in all locales as well. So if you are a developer from some other country, and based on the country that you are from, it will be definitely available as well. That looks like all the questions that we have for now. But yes, go ahead with your.
Yeah, we
Uh,
we can come back with a couple more when I'm done with the talk. Okay. Okay. So continuing with okay, so this is just I was talking. Sorry about that. I was talking about customer behavior metrics. This is a little bit of what you can see when you are playing with that kind of console. You can see the percentage of origins, the percentage of terminations and handle requests. But later you can exploit those a little bit more, just to give you an idea, right? Okay, so productivity and accuracy, and this was Karthik's talk in Alexa Live, and I thought it was super exciting. So I have a bunch of things here that I want to mention. Probably Karthik can explain this in much better way than me, but I'm just going to try to cover them like in a high level overview. Okay, so this is basically the announcements of that session. And we are, as you can see, we're touching on accuracy improvements, productivity tools, and skill richness. And let's start with, okay, I'll give you some time to just digest that, but I'm going to explain so each one of these, okay? Let's start with, okay, let's start with multi-value slots, which is something that was there in the outline. Okay, so as you can see here, we have this great sample skill called College Coach, and we had an issue there in College Coach where people will not always want to look for colleges in, for example, only New York, but they will want to look for them in New York, California, and Boston, for example. We don't have one slot type that can actually handle three variations of a place, right? Basically, if it's a slot type that is called location or place, it's one place, right? So we solved that with multi-value slots. We showed a little bit of this when we were in our Remars talk last year when we were showing Alexa conversations, etc. And Rohit Prasad, our chief AI scientist, showed this in, let's say, in the Alexa functionality itself. Users were able to use the shopping list, and they would say, add peanut butter and jelly to the shopping list, and you would see peanut butter and jelly, two items in the shopping list, while before that would be added as one item, right? So that wasn't a multi-value slot. So now we opened up this functionality to developers, so everybody can flag or mark a slot of type of giving it a type of multi-value. And when you go multi-value, the entity resolution will basically allow you to provide more than one value, and it will give you all the different values. Suppose that I create a slot of type Amazon person, and I'm expecting one person, but I mark it as multi-value, and the customer interacting with the skill, instead of saying one person, they say three. I will get all three of them, and I don't have to create three different slots in the utterance. It's only one slot flagged as multi-value. Okay. All right. So let's go to automatic speech recognition. We announced the ASR evaluation tool, and this kind of closes the gap of our testing tools on the front end, to put it some way. So the ASR, if for those of you not familiar with ASR, it means automated speech recognition, and it's the basic process that we use to transform audio, which is the voice of the person, into text, right? So that's what we do when we do ASR. And as you know, there might be a lot of issues with the recognition, because the system obviously is not perfect. And suppose that someone has a very awkward accent, or something like that. It's very difficult to get it like 100% right all the time. So how can we make sure that our skill is understanding, at least at the ASR level, which is the translation from sound to text, whether that text is right? It's basically what the user is saying. So we have this great tool that allows you to record. You can click on a microphone and record the voices yourself and run that as a battery of tests to make sure that they are mapping to a specific text. Okay, so why did I say this is closing the gap? Because we already have the NLU tool, and the NLU tool will allow you to understand that maybe the slots were being captured correctly, that maybe the right intent was being triggered, right? But this is high level. That is the NLU, natural language understanding. So we really need this other tool here covering the ASR part. So with ASR and NLU, now we can fully test our front end or voice interaction model part using these tools to make sure that we're getting everything correctly even before reaching the back end. Okay. All right. So another very interesting announcement was fallback sensitivity tuning. For those of you that have been creating skills, you know that we have fallback, which is a model that is trained to capture everything that the user says that it's out of domain. And that means that's something that your skill does not understand. It's phrases that you're not covering in your skill. That usually goes to fallback, but not always. Some cases, I had some complaints by users saying, "Hey, I added fallback and to my skill, and I'm saying blah blah blah, and that is not triggering fallback. That's giving me an earcon. An earcon is basically a poop poop, like a sound like that. So it's not going to fallback. If this is something that my skill doesn't handle, why is it not going to fallback? So it turns out that fallback has can have different sensitivity, and it was set to a default, which is usually low. And that means that we did not want to trigger fallback like in every single circumstance when we are not sure. We wanted to trigger fallback when it was a very clearly falling into a fallback model. Okay, so now we added sensitivity to fallback. You can set it to low, medium, or high. Okay, and what's the difference? When you set it to high, fallback sensitivity, you are setting it to a very aggressive fallback routing. And that means that when you set it to high, everything that is not handled by your skill will go straight to fallback. And that's some of the behavior that a lot of developers wanted. Okay, but that's not exactly what we want in some cases. Like for example, suppose that you are dealing with a lot of complex utterances, and your skill can misunderstood that something going to fallback, and you have a lot of utterances and you have a lot of intents, right? And if you set fallback sensitivity too aggressively, maybe something ends up going to fallback while it should be routed to one of your intents, right? In that case, you want to use low, for example. Okay, so play a little bit with that, fallback sensitivity, and you will understand that, and you will understand how it works. I believe, I'm not sure if Karthik can confirm later, but I believe this is for now only available in English locales and in German locales. Okay, but if it's available in English locales, that means it's available for English of India. Okay, maybe Karthik can confirm that later in the end. So moving forward, another one sec. Okay, there you go. Going ahead. Okay. Another of the announcements was we announced catalog management and dynamic catalogs. And let me just explain a little bit of how this works. You probably run into this situation if you've been building skill for some time, where you have this slot type that you created yourself. It's very long. you have a lot of elements there, and now you want to change one element, and when you want to change one element, you need to modify the voice interaction model and send it for certification again, right? Which is really a pain. So we decided that if you were working with a slot type of yourself, and you care for it, you create it, you update it all the time, let's say your child, right, your slot type, we might as well give you the possibility to do share slot. So basically you can create one slot type, take care of it, and maybe share it between your skills, because maybe you're reusing it across skills. So that's how we started, with share slots, right? And that's what you're seeing there, where you have two skills in the slide accessing one slot type, right? But then we expanded this to catalogs, meaning that, okay, what if instead of having my slot types in the voice interaction model, what if I get them from somewhere else? What if I have them in a different system, right? And I can get them from that system, so I don't have to keep things in sync anymore, because I can get it from this other catalog system. So that's how we created shared catalogs, and that's something that we do support right now. And the other thing, we call this reference-based catalogs management. And the other thing we announced, sorry, is dynamic catalogs. Dynamic catalogs is basically providing auto refresh, and that means that a dynamic catalog can be configured to basically fetch new slot values and new information on a predefined basis, you know. So that's something very powerful, because now with dynamic catalogs, maybe you just update your backend. Maybe you have a place where you're keeping your slot types, and you forget about this with dynamic catalogs, because this is getting updated automatically. Okay, obviously we still run into the certification issue, but with we have quick certification updates. There are ways in which you can put a skill live in just a few minutes, especially if you are changing, if you're adding slot values, for example. And when you combine that with that ability, then you can have a skill up and running, even when changing slot with adding slot types. Slot elements. Okay. All right. So let me move to Alexa entities. Okay. So Alexa entities. Speaking of catalogs, for example, we know that skill developers face the same problems when it comes to building and maintaining an up-to-date and high-quality data catalog, because having them in sync, for example, is usually a problem, right? So you run into that. We want you to be able to focus on the experiences and not on content or catalog management. That's why we're adding all of these tools, so we can make it like a little bit more automatic for you, right? So we also announced Alexa entities, and Alexa entities is a way for you to improve the experience with more knowledge in your skills. Okay, so let me give you just maybe one quick example, because this is tapping into the Alexa knowledge engine. Okay, we are providing you with the extra information for entities coming straight from the Alexa knowledge engine, and you will be able to traverse a knowledge graph of interesting facts that you can use to enrich your skills. Okay, and if I have to give you one quick example, so imagine you have a skill where you have this Amazon person slot, and that person gets a match of Steven Spielberg. So someone says the name, you match it to Steven Spielberg. You know that that's a person, but with the previous system, without using Alexa entity, that's it. You know that Steven Spielberg is Steven Spielberg, and if you wanted more information, you have to connect to an API to fetch that information yourself. Suppose you wanted to know the birth date. Suppose you wanted to know which films he created, right? With Alexa entities, we're giving you a semantic map of this information that you can use right away when you have a match for this person. And this is working across the Alexa knowledge engine, and I think it's one of the most powerful things that we've announced, because as you can see here, we're getting the birthday of Steven Spielberg, we're getting, the different movies that he created, and you can use all of that in your skill because it's part of the information of matching that entity. Okay, moving on. Tools and frameworks, and we're almost done. Okay, tools and frameworks. And tools and frameworks, we created a new version of the developer console. You probably saw that the developer console is giving more information now. You have a lot of announcements, what's going on, you have tutorials, etc. So we try to give it a little bit more love to the developer console. So we really hope you like it. But that's not all. We also added the ability in the developer console for you to import, to create skills from Git directly from a Git import. So previously, before having this Git import, you have to select one template. So we're talking about Alexa hosted skills here. You would select Alexa hosted skill. You will have options to choose a template, but those templates were predefined. Now we're giving you the opportunity to point to a specific Git repository that hosts a skill and create your Alexa hosted skill from that source code, okay? All right. Speaking of enhancements to Alexa hosted skills, we also added this ability for the system to support multiple regions from scratch. So when you create right now an Alexa hosted skill, we are not creating a single Lambda endpoint. We are creating multiple Lambda endpoints for you in different regions so you can give the best experience to your customers or the fastest service to your customers, okay? And we are not only doing this, providing multiple regions, etc., but we are also doing it with a sub 20-second deployment guarantee. So basically, when you deploy an Alexa hosted skill, it should be under 20 seconds, or you can come and kill me, okay? Because that's our guarantee for now. We are doing sub 20-second deployments, and we work really hard for you to get there because we really thought that speed is super important when it comes to deployments because you are deploying all the time as a developer, right? And we don't want to waste your life with those precious seconds. Okay, so moving on. Another thing that we added to Alexa hosted skills is the ability for you to launch the IDE. You can launch Visual Studio Code from the developer console. And how does it work? This will basically give you a prompt on Visual Studio Code, and in the background, it will download a zip file of the code, and it will put it in the folder that you select, and it will suddenly open the VS Code, like sitting precisely in that skill that you just downloaded. So it's super easy now to go from console to VS Code running locally, with the skill in just a few seconds. All right. So speaking of going to the toolkit, going to the VS Code experience, we have this plugin called the Alexa Skills Toolkit, which is now in 2.0. And I think that we added some really cool things. One of the things that we added is the ability for you to do local debugging. It's transparent local debugging because I've seen that there are a few solutions around, even one of ours that we were using to do local debugging, but this is transparent. You don't have to configure anything to do local debugging. This is for now. We found some hiccup there that is limiting it to US only, but we are trying to solve that, okay, right now. So the idea is you don't have to go and change any endpoint anywhere to be able to do local debugging. We are doing that transparently for you. The other thing that we added to the toolkit is the ability for you to preview APL straight in Visual Studio Code. And I have a sample screen here that I can share with you, where you can see that we are working on the APL code, and we are seeing the preview here on an Echo spot, and you can even change it between the different devices to see how it previews. You don't even have to go to the APL authoring tool anymore if you want to just preview. And this is live updated. If you change this font style that you can see here from italic to something else, you will see the difference like live right there, in just 1 sec. All right. One of the things, and this was my session, by the way, in Alexa Live. So I'm particularly, I'm biased. So sorry about that. The crown of the jewel that we announced during Alexa Live for this session specifically, I think it was SDK controls. Okay. So SDK controls SDK controls is a new framework for the SDK that allows you to componentize pieces of code in your Alexa skill. So basically, you would create components that you can combine together and even reuse in your own skills or somebody else's skills if you want to share them, okay? And makes the developer life much easier. We're using ES6 class definitions to do this, and maybe the best way to show you how this works is to show you one slide here, And this is one control, which is called the list control, that is basically passing a prompt, which is basically Alexa saying something, asking for a question. It's passing a list of items, fruits and vegetables, and it's passing a list of interaction ways in which actions in which you can basically get started with this: choose, select, pick, and also an APL document. So this, what you see here, encapsulates a conversation such as, what product would you like? I select fruit, or I pick fruits, for example, and then it will pick fruits, and it will show you an APL render screen that where you can also do that by touch also. Okay, so you can combine this with multiple things. Like, for example, you can combine this with validations, and we have an example here of number control, where, for example, suppose that they select, I don't know, 3 fruits. You could plug in a control just like this one, and allow them and allow the skill to validate, quickly validate that the number is correct. For example, not 0, to give you an idea. Okay, so this is a very powerful way to create skills, and it's fully compatible with the SDK, but basically provides new constructs for you to work with. There are other things of SDK controls that I haven't mentioned, like, for example, the ability for you to generate voice interaction models, and you can do that, but we don't have enough time to cover that now. If you are interested, you can go here to, sorry, I think I'm going ahead. Okay, you can go here to Alexa.design SDK controls. Okay. All right, so almost done now. So let's cover JSX for APL. What is JSX for APL beta? It's a way for you to generate APL code from JavaScript. Okay, similar to React. If you're a web developer, maybe you're familiar with React and how you create views with React. You can use the same technology to generate APL. And maybe the best way to show you that is just show you one example. So here, using JavaScript code, okay, we are creating a fruit list, okay, of different items, and we're creating a sequence where we are showing the fruits that we have in a map, and we are rendering them, as you can see, as fruit items. Take a look at the code and how easy it is. Obviously, we have defined fruit item that is not shown here, which is basically like, like an icon, a name, etc. But if you render this, it looks like this. Okay, and we haven't created a separate APL document. We did it from JavaScript. All right. One of the last things that we announced was automated local distribution. And automated local distribution is a way for you to distribute to same language locales. So, for example, suppose you create a skill for English India, right? And you create it only for that locale, but you want it to be distributed to any place that supports English. You can just check a check mark there in your skill and have it distributed to all the English locales, or everywhere where all the English locales are supported, just by hitting a checkbox, and that's it. Okay, so that's what we call automated local distribution. So you don't have to worry about copying voice interaction models, etc. We also introduced skill versioning, and skill versioning is a way for you to know what versions you have submitted to make them live. Okay, so skill versioning is particularly important because we are going to use it in the next in the next feature that I want to talk about, which is rollback. Thanks to skill versioning, we can do rollback. And what is rollback? Suppose that you publish and it goes live, right? A new skill, and that introduces a bug. And suddenly all your users are complaining because they can't use your skill anymore. And you did not anticipate that, but you send it live, right? And then you have to contact our teams, ask them to roll it back, etc. It's a big pain. You can do that yourself now. You can do a rollback to the previously certified version. Okay, and you can quickly come back to the previous skill, and it's like we're giving you a time machine for you to go back to any version that you want. Okay, all right, we're right in the end. Local clone. Local clone is the ability for you to clone a locale to the other locales. For example, I have a skill that is English India, and I want to create a copy of them for English US. You can use just one command to clone it. And this will clone the voice interaction model and the manifest data, okay? Both of them. So you can do this manually, and that's basically it. All right. So this is it for me. I'm going to allow a couple of more questions. Karthik, I hope we are on time.
Yeah, I think we are slightly a bit delayed, but I think that's fine. We
Okay.
did have one question, and let me just see if I can uh, just take this up. Subrata asked, I think this was during the multi-value slots, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically when we were talking about multi-value slots, he was asking if
Yeah.
what if a value that is not defined already is added to the slot, like New York, Boston, California, and New Jersey. So let's say New Jersey was not already defined as a value,
Mm-hmm.
and then on multi-value slots, someone says add California and New Jersey to my schools list. How would that work out?
I suppose I'm not sure, to be honest, but I suppose that you will probably get a no match if it's not because for you and I, we're humans. We know that maybe New York should be a valid place, right? And maybe it's not supported in the multi-value slot, but we know it's a valid place. But the system might not know, So it could be interpreted as part of the rest of the utterance. You know what I'm saying? When you add, like, for example, I don't know, Micronesia in the end. Maybe if that's not supported, that could be like part of an utterance. So I'm not sure that it's going to be mapped to the multi-value slot. You know what I'm saying? Because it's different enough so it cannot be mapped. I think that the system will have to have clear values that can be mapped to multi-value slot for it to fall into that resolution of a multi-value slot. Okay, I'm
Exactly.
not sure if that, yeah.
Yeah, and to add to that, I also think, Subrata, one thing that will happen here is it depends on the slot type that you have chosen here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, if you have chosen city, you may not have to put in New Jersey as a city because maybe the Amazon.city already covers it, right? In which case, you may not
That,
have.
that's correct. That's totally correct. Yeah, that's totally correct. That's super important because in that case it would be covered, right? But if you are
Exactly.
talking about maybe a custom slot, right, where there's no semantics around what the slot really is about, right? We don't know if it's a city, what kind of elements you have there. If you have an extra elements, how do we know that that was supposed to be there but was not, right? It's very difficult for
Exactly.
the system to say that, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And we had a lot of questions, Haman, and we were able to just answer them in the chat itself. But yes, I really hope we could get to all of those questions. But like I mentioned, we have the Slack channel. Do join us on the Slack channel and send us your questions. But yes, a lot of those questions were answered in chat itself, hopefully. So that should
And
be
people
good.
can contact me directly too using the Twitter account there because I have PMs open for everybody. Okay.
Exactly. And that is, let me just quickly type in Harman's. I hope I got that correct. Yep, that's his Twitter handle. Do reach out to Harman on any of these
Yeah.
features, and he'll be able to help you out. Okay, so I think
Sure.
next up is Ankit. Is Ilan and Arjun going to come up next, or is it going to be Divya? Uh, okay, there we go. Back to Divya.
Thank you, Arman. I'm sure we are really excited and stimulated to experience the new features that Alexa has for us. For our next segment, I would like to invite Karthik to moderate the panel discussion with Alexa Evangelist German Viscosa and our Alexa champions, Ilan Ganesh Murthy and Arjun Ganesan. Over to you, Karthik.
All right. So we just wanted to do like a quick roundup of what we have done at Alexa Live, and we have a great panel today. We've got Arjun, and Arjun is Alexa champion, and he's also the associate technical architect at ThisFlow. And also, shout out to Arjun for having built the Alexa community website as well. Arjun is overall a super all-rounder who always keeps giving me concerns about my productivity, looking at all the things that he keeps building. So the link to Alexa community will be just coming up on your screens for a while. Arjun made that website. Thanks for that, Arjun. Um, how are you, Arjun?
I'm good. I'm good, Karthik. How are you?
I'm doing
Hi,
good.
Herman. I think this is the first time we are meeting face to face. I think, yeah.
Hello. Really nice to see your face,
Nice to,
Arjun.
nice to see you as well, Herman.
And
Hi, Ram.
And we
Hey,
also have
hi, Akhil.
Ilan. Hey, Ilan.
Hey, Karthik. Good evening.
Good evening and welcome to the stream. And yes, so I've got two champions in here and we've got two evangelists on the stream, of course. So what we are going to do is we're just going to ask a few questions, talk about a few questions and about Alexa Lite. So I'll start with Ilan because Ilan is the first on my screen. But starting with Ilan and then maybe Harman, you can go next. And then Arjun, you can maybe go last. Is what was the one most if you had to choose one feature out of Alexa 9 that was super exciting according to you, which one are you going to pick up?
I think it will be not only me, it will be universally, it will be Alexa conversation. So whoever you ask, they'll come up with Alexa conversation. Because we know it will be how difficult for a developer to adjust today if you wanted to have a multi kind of interaction, dialogue management by coding it. But now bringing in the artificial intelligence neural network, so the heavy lifting will be done by the Alexa conversation. And as we told, because by looking into it, so it's going to providing 20 different utterances itself. It's difficult, but by Alexa conversation, it may generate more than 100, 200, or even 2000 different utterances, and your skill level will be completely changed. Yeah, so I feel it's Alexa conversation is my favorite. So that's the kind of thing. So and I'm expecting a lot of new innovations are going to come.
Right, and
It's
yeah, that's a good point, Ilan. I mean, Alexa Conversations is something that I'm super excited about, and we also have a hackathon as well around Alexa Conversations. So I would definitely ask the viewers to go and participate in the Alexa Conversations. It is now open to Indian developers as well. Do participate in the hackathon and get a good India representation in there. We want some winners from India this time for sure. So, yep, definitely there. Harman is up. Harman just dropped out for a while, but Harman, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So, Harman,
Yeah.
you up next. You cannot choose Alexa Conversations because Ilan has already chosen that. So, apart from Alexa Conversations, which was the most exciting feature for you?
Yeah, I think Alexa Conversations is a clear winner there, obviously for multiple reasons. But I'm particularly excited about the skill resumption. Skill resumption, as I mentioned during my talk, it's a way for you to put skills to the background, and I think that provides a lot of very interesting new scenarios that we can create with Alexa skills. A skill goes to the background, then it can be wake up by the user, or the skill itself can decide to basically go into the foreground, right? So imagine, I don't know, exercising skills where you can do a run while you're running, listening to your music, and then the skill tells you, okay, it's 30 minutes. You've been running 30 minutes. That's awesome. You want to try a different exercise, etc. So I think that this is allowing me as a developer to create new kinds of skills.
Right. That makes that's a great feature, to be honest. And we've had this request from partners for quite a while, where it would just go into the background because that's something that mobile apps can usually do, right? And for people coming in from, say, building mobile apps or web apps, where there would be something kind of a background or a cron job kind of thing that was just running in, I think skill resumption is a great way to do that. Okay, so moving on to the last person on the screen, Arjun. What was your feature, most exciting feature? And you cannot say APL. You cannot say
Come on, man.
I know you are an APL champion, so you cannot say APL. But I'm just kidding. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, because there was a lot of announcement on multi-modal, so I was very excited to know. And many came as a surprise. I was like, okay, man, this was something I was waiting for. And to choose one of it is, I would say, the JSX for APL, because I have heard from developers that it's kind of difficult for them to, because end of the day we are working on a front end UI, and they felt I had this skill on HTML, React, and other stuffs, but transitioning that skill to APL was a bit difficult. So even before that, I believe I tweeted about building something similar to that, and it came as a surprise that wow, they themselves built that. So this is something I'm really excited about, and I believe this kind of removes some pain point in where developers say, I might now have this skill to build, build a UI out of a JSON. Instead, here it is. It's similar to HTML, how we build a React. So it's there. You do that, and you get a UI. And added to that, the preview feature in VS Code that makes this a little more easier for the developers as well. So I'm kind of excited about more, but these two I would say are the main things that I'm happy to see as well.
I remember the preview feature. Honestly, there were so many talks, so I did not get chance to deep dive into the feature. But I was on Herman's talk on that day moderating the session, and when I saw the preview feature, my mind went just
Yeah,
wow! This is a very amazing feature because you can just do everything right. And
yeah,
that basically brings us to the other question, right? And I'm sure you have spoken about it, but I want to kind of jump a bit more into detail, right? So all of us have spoken about different features, but before this feature came into your life, I wanted you to explain. I want all of you to just take a few minutes and talk about any of the feature, right? It could be any of the feature. It does not have to be your favorite feature, but any one particular feature and how it improves your life. Like earlier, maybe it was really a pain point, and maybe it was really painful to do something before. And how do you think this one feature is going to improve? It can be any feature that has just made your development experience different. I don't know, Ilan, do you kind of want to go first?
Yeah, I'll tell two things. First is,
uh,
are you able to hear me now? Sorry.
yes, we can
I'll
hear
tell
you.
the majorly two features. So first is bringing Alexa to mobile and making it a virtual assistant. I think it's going to create a lot of wow factor. Even though it's in Echo family, it's in ambient computing. But once you bring it to mobile, that deep linking. So I think this is the start of the journey. So where you can start by doing it by deep linking. So I'm seeing a lot of things are going to come up. So even we can see in India there is a apps. Even when you want to make a payment from say Zomato, you just deep link into the Paytm. It automatically happens. So similarly, I foresee a lot of things are going to happen through part of deep linking. That's one thing. And when it comes to simple things, that multi-value slot is something which I really like it kind of thing. So early days, what we used to do, if they, in this case, so for example, if it is a pizza and it is a topping, so if you want to have multiple, so obviously you topping one, topping two, topping three, you will define a multiple slot for this, and it's a fixed kind of thing. Okay, and we are doing for a chatbot kind of thing where if you want to do a mutual fund, we'll do mutual fund 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. But this kind of a list, it's going to open up. So this, it may look simple, but it will be eventually, I think it's a powerful kind of thing for our developers, and it will change your things in a very different manner. That's my take on it.
Exactly. And I'm glad someone talked about a feature from my talk. So thanks for that, Ilan.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
I just
and
for the sake
I
of
think in Alexa Live, your talk was very good because you introduced something 8 or 10, tuck kind of thing in a very,
yeah.
it's a very
At the
good
same
kind of
time, I
thing.
think that was the same with Herman's talk as well. Even Herman's talk had a lot of features inbuilt
Too
and
many.
a lot of features. So yes, so that's a good point that Ilan is talking about, right? With multi-value slots, and I can speak about that in a bit because what happens basically is earlier when you used to have like um, you know um, you had to just capture all the slots together. You had to do things like, okay, let's say today I have built a meal planner skill, which I build on my personal time on my Twitch stream. And what the meal planner skill basically does is it allows me to set the meal for the entire week. And I was wondering that, hey, can I do something like uh, I have onions and tomatoes and lady fingers, right? What can I cook, right? And then it would do a fuzzy search and it would find the items and it will tell me that, right? What dish to cook. This was not possible before, and what would have happened before was I would have to say, okay, tell me ingredient number one, and then it would capture it, and then tell me ingredient number two, and then it would capture it, and then tell me ingredient. And that's just not how voice works, right? Like you wouldn't call your friend and say that, hey, okay, you won't call your mom and say that, mom, I need some help cooking. And my mom would say, okay, what is the first ingredient you have? What is the second ingredient? I mean, someone would very honestly just say, okay, what is the things that you have, and then you say, okay, I have these three things. Let's cook something out of it. So that way, I believe multi-value slots is something that is super exciting that way. Arjun, you want to go up next. Which feature has improved your development toolkit per se?
Yeah, again, I I would say that VS Code tooling for the preview. Again, talking about the APL part again. So before that, we have, we had two options. Either I can go to APL authoring tool and I can see there, or I can use the skill emulator and see. But that kind of brings me out of my IDE, right? So that's where my actual development works, and I have to switch between here and there. So that was kind of difficult for me to do. It's, again,
You
those
are like a
interfaces are
code
very,
coder, right? You
yeah,
live in the
yeah,
IDE.
yes, yes. So I want that to happen here. So I just type the JSON here. I can see that here, right? So that kind of improved a lot. So compared
Right.
with going to a separate page, seeing the preview there, then copying the JSON, bringing it to the code, this solves a greater pain point for me on the IAPL part.
Right.
So this I would say yes.
Yeah, and this is where I want to kind of take a minute, right? And I want to talk about how much customer obsession means to us, right? We have a lot of developers who keep coming back to us with these feedback, right? And we have a community here. The community keeps getting us these feedback. Whenever you are working with any Alexa development tool and you have any issues, right? I remember when I started developing Alexa skills back in 2016, 2017, the console looked very, very different, and there were not enough documents, and there were not enough code samples and stuff like that. But when you kind of give the feedback to us as the community, we always take it back to the right teams. And some of these features do take a bit of time because it's a huge machine and a huge software engine that is powering this. But we do take these feedback seriously. It's not as if we just take it and we don't do it much with it. But this was a feature that a lot of people were asking us, and we took it to heart, and we did work on it, and that's the result that you're seeing at Alexa Live, right? Uh, so yes, Herman, you want to go up next on terms of what feature has improved your
Yeah,
life?
yeah. You know that I have a strong community focus, right? And I'm always trying to contribute samples and to also to have people share, what they can share, obviously, so for the benefit of the community at large. And I think that for that, I'm very excited about SDK controls, because SDK control allows you to create components in your skill that you can share. So previously, when I wanted to share maybe a way to capture an address, suppose I want to create a functionality to capture an address, like a complex address, right? I had to create a full sample and share the full sample. Now I can create a component, which is just something that captures an address. I can share with you, and you can very quickly add it to your skill, and you're capturing an address, right? So that's why I'm super excited about SDK control. I hope it gets adoption, because as usual, it's different, it's not easy to get started, I would say, but maybe we can help in that area, provide components, publish components that you can reuse, etc.
Maybe that is the point where Arjun steps in with the controls generator for all of us, where we just say that, hey, these are the controls that we need in a skill, and it just generates those controls for us, Arjun.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and yes, and I think that's one of my features that I really like as well. The controls framework in general, it's just there are just different ways to build a skill, right? And when you don't have like a defined framework, people just tend to sometimes put in bad practices in their code management, or just it's just a different way to handle skill, right? But when you kind of have a framework around how you want to think, it might be a bit difficult about it, right? Earlier, whenever we used to build a skill, we used to think intent backwards. Like we would say that, hey, this intent handler, here's where I'm going to put my logic, and maybe we'll have some methods. But with controls framework, we almost want to look at, hey, and we always keep saying this in software development, right? DRY, which is basically don't repeat yourself. I think that's what controls framework is providing, and a really great attempt at that. Having said that, this is like the second last question before we move on, wrap up. One feature that released at Alexa Live you have not explored much, but you intend to do that after today's talk? Which would be that one feature you have not explored at all? And I'm sure there are quite a bit of them. Maybe you want to go first, Ilan. A feature that you have not explored much, and you, after listening to Herman's talk, maybe you just got super excited about it, and you want to try that out.
Yeah, I think it's I want to continue with what Arman left. It's a controls. I think that will be a kind of, it's a new feature, I understand, but I see it like think like it's going to be a Lego block kind of thing. So where in
Right.
organization or in a kind of thing, you build it and you keep it. So it is going to be assembling is going to be, it's going to take a code reuse to a next level. So in my team, if there are 3 or 5 people developing it, so I can focus on building the controls. So that way I can abstract the reusability to a greater extent. And in simple, it's going to be a Lego block kind of thing. That's what I personally feel. So I'll give more emphasis on the control aspect of it. That should be the thing which I should take it forward.
Got it. Yeah. Interesting stuff, Ilan. I am also streaming about controls framework in my stream. Do come and join me,
Sure,
and
that is
we'll definitely talk about it. Arjun, you want to go next?
Okay, so
this
I
time
need
I
to
want
explore.
Arjun to select something other than APL kind
Oh,
of.
come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
multimodal.
You guys know I've been.
What I-
That's my whole focus on that, right? So
what I liked was Arjun that day mentioned that the APL team has built so many amazing tools that I think instead of building tools now, I should get back into building skills, because I haven't built a skill in a while.
Yeah,
So,
Arjun, you should try something else.
yes, Arjun, we really want you to say something except APL. Except APL. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I think that what Arjun has contributed on the APL side is amazing. I totally love what he contributed, but I think that that's still in time to try other things too. Because we have like 31 announcements in Alexa Live. And there are many things that I would like to show you personally, Arjun, but there's not enough time to cover everything that's happening with Alexa, unfortunately.
Exactly. So go ahead, Arjun. The stage is all yours.
okay, so again I have to go with APL because my prime focus was on that. Maybe later I will explore more. So the one thing I want to explore again in APL is the 1.4 features, especially the gesture and editable input.
Nice.
Because there was a time, I forgot the developer's name. He was asking, I want to get some input from the user and I can't let them do it by a voice. Is there a way to get a keyboard in the APL? And they were thinking about building a virtual keyboard with all characters so that the user can touch and type. So I was like, so this makes that easier for that, and it kind of brings in a total. Because so far the interaction with the screen by the users are just a touch, right? Now we are bringing in gestures, we are bringing in input. So I believe this again brings more experience on the screen side as well for the users to interact. So this is something I'm excited to see, and I will be exploring more on that. Yes, and possibly this I can't build a tool, so I have to build a skill for this, right? So this I will do that.
Glad to know that, Arjun. Glad to know that.
Arjun is a developer that solves everything with tools. He's my favorite kind of developer, actually, because then he shares the tools, So
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay, so my turn. It will be Alexa Conversations, because I haven't had a chance to play a lot with Alexa Conversations, and given the fact that you can go hybrid, you can test them in your own skills as they are right now, or maybe one part of it can use conversations. I think that it's not super difficult, to basically try it out inside one of my skills already, especially for those conversations where I'm doing a lot of back and forth and I need some very specific thing, right? And the dialogue can become like complex to handle. So my best candidates to do that is trying to find the skills where I'm using a lot of dialogue delegation, where I'm using a lot of context switching, etc. Trying to replace it with Alexa Conversations, at least in part, keeping some of those other parts intact.
Got it. Interesting. I mean, conversations is also something that we are working on. I'm super interested about that. We have the hackathon, so pretty sure we might have something for the Indian developers as well. We could have an office or something that might come up in the future. But yes, stay tuned to the community for more announcements on that. all right, it's almost time to wrap up, but I'm going to ask. I know this question is something I don't need to ask Harman because we are from Amazon. We have these questions, we have these discussions, and we know some of these things are working on. But Ilan and Arjun, as someone who is from the community, what is your wish list for the upcoming, say, for the next year's Alexa Live? What is one feature that you would want to see for upcoming Alexa Live?
In my opinion, from me, I'll go to Alexa being tight integrated with the mobile kind of thing. So now, as I mentioned earlier, it's with the kind of Echo
Right.
family of products. So once it comes to the mobile, either in Android or in iOS, so they are being a default virtual assistant. So then interacting with a lot of apps, like how we have already have deep linking kind of thing.
Yeah.
So whatever, I think that is will change a really kind of thing. So we call a seamless transition from device to devices. So if I'm in an office, I'm just using a mobile, then I switch to kind of coming home and at Alexa to, or coming to home, then coming to Echo. So, but I think mobile will be a kind of thing where if there is something happens in mobile, being a coming as a being a default virtual assistant and having all muscles to it and adding all intelligence. So I think that will be the one of the thing I'll be seeing more in that particular direction. So that will open up a lot of developers coming into this, embracing that Alexa or kind of thing.
Got it, Ilan. And some of this is actually things that we are already seeing this Alexa Live with deep Alexa for apps kind of integration.
Yes.
And that is one of the most important things for our team as well, as we continue to work towards more of a hybrid kind of a methodology, right? Yes, that's important. Arjun, you want to go next?
Okay, so me kind of being I would call myself a developer. So my focus would be on bringing in more tools like this. So I have even with the current live, I have seen a lot of tools bringing in developers so that it makes their life easier, right? Let it be like the local debugging or uh, yeah, or the tool for previewing the API. So this makes a developer's life easier so that they can, instead of spending that time on switching between apps, switching between the browsers to finish their app. This I think they can concentrate more on just the development part. So I would say I would like to see some more issues of the developers solved with some new tools by Alexa. And I believe you guys might have already working on that and secretly from us not even telling us what's going on in there.
Right. And yes, of course, we cannot. And the standard answer to that is we cannot speak about our roadmap, but we'll take that feedback back to our team. But yes, really, really great stuff, Arjun. Like you said, you are a developer's developer. And we did have, especially Harman's talk, did have a lot of developer tool improvements that does actually improve the productivity per se, right? So yes, great hearing about that. But yes, with that, we come to a wrap of this panel discussion. Ilan and Arjun, thank you so much for taking out your time and joining us and answering our questions patiently. And of course, Harman, thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us about the Alexa Live recap, which was really useful for me. I got to know a couple of things about the entire Alexa Live roundup. So thank you so much for that, folks.
My pleasure being here.
Thank you, Karthik.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you for having us.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Arman, for
Thanks,
hosting
everyone.
for this
Thank you.
Bye.
Cool. So over to Divya now.
Yeah. I'd like to thank the entire panel for such an integral discussion and support. There was a contest conducted by the team on Twitter to tweet about your most exciting new feature. I request Sunit to announce the winner. Over to you, Sunit.
Hello, is it audible? Hi everyone, good evening. We had run a Twitter campaign and we to know your most exciting features as launch of Alexa Live. So we had received lots and lots of tweets and our team had a very tough time choosing the best ones. The winners are Samarpreet Singh and Azmat Siddiqui. So can we have those tweets on the screen please? This is the first one. So can we get the second one please? So also we have got a very good questions in our YouTube channel. So we are rewarding the best question we have received so far. So Subrata Sakar has given a good question. So Karthik, you had answered for this. So winners are awarded with a $25 AWS credit. So to get these credits, I request the winners to DM our Twitter handle Alexa CMINDA. And once again, congratulations to all the winners. Over to you, Divya.
Thank you, Suni. Well, with that, we've come to an end of the event for today, and this has truly been wonderful. I'd like to thank the entire team of Alexa community who have worked really hard to make this conference a truly successful one, and all the participants who have shown their enthusiasm by joining us today. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a nice day and stay safe. Thank you.